Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jean Boda. I'm the Executive Director with the Alberta Community Crime Prevention Association, commonly known as ACPA. In May of this year, we will be hosting our annual Crime Prevention Conference in Edmonton, Alberta. Our dates, May the 5th through the 7th. In anticipation of this exciting event, we are hosting a series of interviews with our conference presenters. Today, I will be interviewing Councillor Boychuk from the town of Peace River. On May the 6th, Councillor Boychuk will be presenting a presentation entitled Innovative Municipalities, Demonstrating Possibilities Through Integrated Approaches to Mental Health and Policing. We're delighted that you could join us today, Marc. Please share a little bit about yourself.
Good morning, Jean. I'm living up in Peace River, a small rural community in northern Alberta. And approximately about 10 years ago, I thought I'd get a little more involved in my community. And that journey has been wonderful. The people I've met and the amount I've learned about what really goes on in communities around, especially around social aspects. I got into, initially started looking into homelessness and those experiencing houselessness, and realized that there's a strong interconnection between that and mental health and addictions. And then I realized there's a strong connection between policing and how we're dealing with our crime in our local communities. So it's been a wonderful journey that I look forward to continuing for quite a while longer yet. But it's interesting, and I just recently started looking in more and more around the aspect of policing and finding out how that's connected and how we can improve our response to our social issues countrywide with police.
Excellent, Marc. Thank you for sharing that with us. So, as a town councillor, what was the motivating factor in you becoming involved with this mental health initiative?
Interesting enough, I was involved with the mental health initiative and which motivated me to become a town councillor. Early on in my stages of research and discovery, I felt that there's a strong response that can come from our municipal leaders. They're the ear to the ground to a lot of agencies, and they also get to meet a lot of government agencies and build those relationships, which I was having a little bit of a problem as a local citizen. Although I meet with the government people, I really didn't have the credibility behind me. So it was one of the motivating factors to get in here and see how municipal government ran, and how as a municipal councillor and council, we could solve these issues as a team. And that's one of the main reasons I decided to run, is working as a team is much better than working by yourself. You go a lot further, for sure.
I agree. And also you bring others along and make them aware of what is going on. I agree. So once you decided to analyze the mental health issue, what was the first thing you learned?
One of the first things I learned, and actually it was through sitting in I don't know if you'll remember, but it's probably 3-4 years ago, we're sitting in a national little workshop together. And one of the officers from back east, and I think he might have been from Halifax, he happened to mention how much of his calls were non-crime related. And that just kind of set a light bulb on me, like, this officer here in town in Halifax, is 65% of his time is spent with non-crime related calls. And so then that kind of prompted me to ask our RCMP detachment commander what his time, and his was a lot higher. He was 85 to some weeks it was 100% of his calls.
Oh my Lord.
And when we're looking at the crime rate that's going on around here, where break and enters are like increasing by 100 to 125%. And then, so what are our RCMP officers doing? Well, we're actually unfortunately spending a lot of time dealing with mental health calls, whether unequipped, untrained. And because we're a small rural community, our officers were spending a tremendous amount of time on the highway, because once you get formed, through the Mental Health Act, it is mandatory to take that person to a designated site, which the closest one is 2 hours one way. So sometimes we would have officers spending a whole shift just transporting prisoners, or not prisoners,
Oh,
clients to a mental health facility. And then not only that, they just turn around and bring them right back
yeah.
without any help. So that's kind of what's got me started really surprised and looking at, we have a major flaw here that we have to look at and address.
Good for you. Good for you. And good for you for not just brushing it aside or dismissing it and taking it and trying to change it. No, good for you. So once the task force was up and running, what was its first success?
So when I got looking at this, and I started advocating against AHS to get a designated site in Peace River, because I felt that I had a strong enough data. We had the support of the RCMP. Um, I just wasn't getting anywhere, and since we just became newly elected, it kind of got an idea thinking in my head, thinking, well, why don't I get all of our regional counselors advocating for it, because it benefits the whole region. And so I ended up developing what you call the task force team of six different municipal and what am I thinking, MB counselors. And we formed a team with the RCMP, and then we thought we also need AHS involved, so we got the mental health and addictions director for the North Zone.
Good,
So we
good.
had a pretty strong team. And so one of the first things I carried over was my homelessness efforts, and I realized how little funding that rural Alberta was getting. So
Mhm.
even though we have just about one third of the population, we were getting less than 2% of the funding available to combat homelessness in rural Alberta. And yet we can see how many communities are struggling with homelessness. This was back in almost 10 years ago. Um,
Yeah,
so one of the things that we did as an organization is we thought, well, we need to advocate to our government to spend a little bit more money in rural Alberta. So yes, we realize that it's easier to have more and more agencies in a city, but at the same time, we need to help our rural people that need to travel sometimes hours and hours just to see a specialist. So
yeah.
we developed what is called a resolution, which is something that you take forward as an advocacy tool, and we presented it to two large organizations in our province: the rural municipalities and the Alberta municipalities. And all those members voted on it, and we had, like, you need 50% to pass a resolution. We had high 90s for
Oh,
our
wow.
resolutions of support, and this is from, like, it was very surprising because one of them was from Alberta municipalities, which a lot of those were larger centers. So we're
Wow.
more or less, we want a piece of your pie, and yet they supported that because they realized that they're not the answer for, like, Edmonton doesn't want every community in the world in the province coming to Edmonton for
That's right.
certain things. So.
That's right. Exactly.
So we had huge success at that, and that just spurred us on to just continue our advocacy. And literally last week we toured a psychiatrist in Peace River. So we've been after a psychiatrist lack of a psychiatrist for almost 3 years now. So with no hope of getting one, and then we just toured one around. So, it's just working together, wrapping it around, supporting Recovery Alberta now instead of AHS, and
Yeah.
assisting in this. So, we're
Yeah.
working as a team, and irregardless of what we accomplish, we will accomplish 100 times more than we would advocating for all these by ourselves. So that's
I,
that's the main success of our team, is that we work so well together. And with mental health and addictions, there's not a member of our team that has either not lost somebody or somebody close to an overdose or a mental health condition. So we're very passionate.
yeah. Yeah. Everyone understands. Oh, that's a no, that's very, yeah. And I agree with you about as a collective body, we're far more powerful than if we do this on our own as just individuals. I agree. So, what will be the big takeaway from the conference presentation, Mark?
Well, what the message I'm trying to get out, and have been right literally from day one, is collaborating and closing the gaps in your community. And so how do people and which agencies should take get involved, and where our municipal leaders should be involved in these processes, because every community is different. So literally, I can't take a cookie cutter and pass it on to the community an hour away from me, because it is the dynamics are different. How agencies interact, how leaders of those agencies, the RCMP, what their main focus and involvement is, because that's another thing that RCMP take a lot of direction from town council. So they can guide and work together, and how are they working together. So I just more or less want to be able to take people and show them the success we've had and why we've had it, and what they can do in their community and how they can do that, and how I can support them in just um, getting these teams built, and starting the tough conversations. A lot of times people don't even want to have these conversations. And I find
Yeah.
that a lot in municipalities. I'd much rather talk about opening a new business than I would about talking about somebody constantly breaking into vehicles, or people sleeping in ATMs, right? Like it's a
Yeah.
tough conversation to have a lot of the time.
Good for you. And to me, this is an excellent project that can be implemented in any community throughout Canada, Canada or even Alberta. I mean, if you just take it, you tailor it, like you say, to your specific community, and go with it. So, and that's what a lot of the delegates are looking for, something they can take and implement. So it sounds like your task force has been a real positive change agent for Peace River. Would you mind sharing a success story of the direct result of your project?
Okay. We have several initiatives going, and one of those is advocating for a designated site. So here's how we can look outside of the box. I'm super excited about this. And for those that don't know what a designated site is, it's a facility within a medical facility that has certain staff, psychiatric staff, and nurses and doctors, and access to those. And it also has to have security, right?
Mhm.
So it's a facility that people generally are locked down for their safety, right? So it's not an easy fix to just say, oh, I can designate three rooms in my hospital,
Mhm, mhm.
and we'll have a designated site. So looking at the BC model, like we only have 3 designated sites in Alberta outside of the 7 major cities.
Oh,
So when you look at Peace River, our mental health calls have doubled. We are almost we are over 2,000 mental health calls a year in our small
oh,
community. Now, if we not every one of those is getting formed, because even the health system's realizing, why transport all these people to a designated site? So, while trying to work at that flaw, how can we stop our RCMP officers from spending that massive amount of time, the cost to the community and our municipality? So we're thinking outside of the box, and we are looking at a BC model to have what's called an observation unit. So it's a 72-hour lockdown facility, but only for 72 hours. And lots of times now with telehealth and access. So we're looking at a whole different facility outside of the hospital, outside of AHS now, and with
mhm,
recovery, at
mhm.
at building our own model here in Peace River. So
Wow,
so to me, after later this afternoon, we're having a meeting on how we're going to start to accomplish that. So, these are the things that
good for
5
you.
years ago I started advocating for, and now we're
Yeah,
really getting some footing. And this could be a model that could be provincially take off,
yeah,
because it's a lot lower cost. Like, I understand now the financial aspect of a lot of things. So when AHS says, I'm just like, throw it up, like we're gonna save money, and they're like, we can't staff it, we can't, like there's big expenses to
yeah,
securing a wing in a hospital. It's
yeah,
not an easy thing to do, but when you can take a building and secure it,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not so cheap. It's not that as expensive, or just a floor. And so that is one of the major successes, other than how we've wrapped our arms around our community, and we're
Mhm,
working at what is best for the region, instead
mhm,
of 6 municipalities saying what is best for my municipality, which
mhm.
might not be best for the region. So
Yeah,
we've thought of, we're fortunate to have another hospital within 15 minutes away, so we're even looking at that as a designated site. And it's these kind of things that you can talk about cross borders now and cross
Yeah.
municipality is the key success that we're doing. So,
Yeah.
you know, as long as we have a passionate group, we'll keep throwing these ideas at,
Yeah.
and we'll keep plugging away at them if we feel that they're the best way to move. So,
This is excellent. Oh, I love that. I love that out of the box thinking, because it's really where we need to go, the creativity, and who would know our communities better than us, right? Or like you say, you municipalities. Oh, Mark, what an amazing story. So I'm really looking forward to hearing your presentation at the conference and getting some buzz going with this. I really am. And I want to just thank you for your time this morning. It's been very, very much appreciated.
oh, anytime, Gene.
No problem. And if anyone else would like to check out the conference presenters, please visit our website, www.albertacrimeprevention.com. And with that, I'll bid you a good farewell. Have a good day. And last week I was saying stay warm, but hey, we've got some wonderful weather out there. So anyways, take care. Thanks. And thanks again, Mark. Thanks for your time.
Oh, you're welcome.